Ceasefire negotiations between Hamas and Israel have finally resumed after weeks of no progress at all. But that doesn't mean that it's likely to happen necessarily, or that if it does, it will happen necessarily soon. We're gonna give you all of the details and talk about some of the challenges that remain to getting an actual ceasefire. So the negotiations appear to still be based on the three-stage ceasefire deal that the UN and Biden have previously endorsed. Here's basically how those three phases break down. The first would last 6 weeks and include the, quote, withdrawal of Israeli forces from all populated areas of Gaza. And that would also come with the release of a number of hostages, including women, the elderly, and the wounded, in exchange for the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. The next phase following that would allow for the exchange for the release of all remaining living hostages, including male soldiers. And then in phase 3, Biden has said that it would be a major reconstruction plan for Gaza that would commence, and any final remains of hostages who've been killed will be returned to their families. So apparently, at least it was announced earlier this week, that Hamas says there's some position revising going on in relation to that. So they have shifted away from a demand for a full Israeli withdrawal during the first stage of a deal, a phase that would involve the release of some hostages, as we said. And so they're no longer asking for a 100% ceasefire and withdrawal during that first 6-week period. It could be more of a gradual or stepped withdrawal and ceasefire. So that is a concession on their part. And apparently that was what caused Israel to resume the negotiations. An Israeli official who's not identified said on Wednesday night that wide gaps between the sides remained, but that Hamas's revised position left potential to move forward in the talks, which is not a position that everyone in Israeli government currently holds, but at least it means that there are negotiations, so there is at least the possibility of a ceasefire. Cenk, what do you make of this?
Thanks for watching. Our audience has helped build TYT into the media giant it is today. Together, we can accomplish anything. Support our work and join us at tyt.com/team.
This is really good news because it looks like Israel is finally giving up this nonsense goal of destroying Hamas completely. Nobody ever knew what that meant. They never defined it. It was undefinable and hence impossible from day one. We told you that it was just an excuse to destroy Gaza, and they have destroyed Gaza. And did they achieve their goal? According to their own intelligence officials, not remotely. So the key here is Israel going to leave? If they're going to leave in the third stage, then we got a deal. And everything's, at least for the moment being, it's gonna be a ceasefire. Then we're gonna have to worry about whether Israel is gonna attack Lebanon and start a whole different war over there. But for the moment being, it looks like they're going in the direction of, yeah, we couldn't do it. They didn't get Yahya Sinwar, who's the head of Hamas inside Gaza. They couldn't destroy Hamas overall. And Hamas is saying, we're not gonna accept anyone staying in Gaza except Palestinians. We're not gonna accept Israel, we're not gonna accept an international peacekeeping force, we're not gonna accept a united Arab force. The Palestinians will control themselves. Look, would I rather have an international force in there? Look, probably, okay? Better than Hamas, and definitely better than Israel, definitely better than both of them. But I don't get to make that decision. They've got to get to a negotiated settlement, and it looks like the negotiated settlement is going in the direction of Israeli withdrawal. We hope so we can end this thing. But I'm gonna give you a sense of why they're so despondent. Former intelligence official in the Israeli government, Milstein, wrote in or said to the New York Times, the military can talk all at once about having dismantled battalions, but at the end of the day, Hamas has survived. We can tell ourselves stories all day long, but this is not even close to the so-called total victory over Hamas. And don't get him wrong, he's not saying let's stay, he's saying this is impossible. And now a lot of the military leadership is saying, what's the standard? Is it to kill every single person in Hamas? I don't know how many more people we can kill. And so it looks like there is now a drive to end this thing. And knock on wood, I hope to God that happens. But with Israel and Hamas, you never know until it's done.
I mean, you occupy and brutalize people for decades upon decades upon decades. Gangsters will rise up as some sort of armed resistance, and those gangsters will sometimes engage in terror actions of terror, and that's what Hamas is. Causes and conditions, right? There are causes and conditions around why Hamas exists. But unfortunately skeptical of this, because I've been skeptical of Israel's motives the entire time, because obviously Netanyahu's political fortunes seem to be tied to continuing on this war. And it's just been incredibly unclear the entire time what Israel's end game was in all of this. Outside of the true project of ethnic cleansing, which is the forced displacement of Palestinian people so that it could become their territory. I mean, but this proposed plan, if it actually happens, I'll be thrilled. It would be such a relief to have this horrible thing over. But in terms of creating Hamas, there's more and more Hamases that are going to be born because people have had their, everyone around them has been murdered, right? I mean, we can't even begin to talk about the scale of the destruction and devastation that Israel wreaked upon Gaza, tied to, of course, the horrific attack of Hamas on last October 7th. So, what Israel has said again and again, at least in interviews I've watched, is Hamas must fully surrender and demilitarize. That's clearly not what this is going to get them. So what exactly is going to come out of all of this? And how do you reconstruct a place where so many people in that place have been murdered, and infrastructure, institutions, hospitals, universities, places of cultural learning, journalists are dead.
Yeah, and so,
sorry to be cynical, but
no, of course. Look, we have to end the occupation. Occupation is a moral cancer. It's destroying both the Palestinians and Israel itself. This is not going to do that. But step one is to get Israel to stop killing people in Gaza and destroying Gaza. I want to give one more quote from Michael Milstein, the former Israeli intelligence officer that I told you about. He was actually in charge of Palestinian affairs, so a division in the Israeli military intelligence, and he said it is an extremely difficult pill to swallow, but there are no good alternatives here. He's saying about Israel's position. He's like, because our alternatives are just stay there and keep pounding away at the Palestinians, but we're not getting Hamas. We're just not getting them. So we're either going to stay there in a bloody draw for as long as you can, imagine, or we're going to have to say at some point, yeah, of course we can't end all of Hamas and go home. And he's advocating for, let's wrap this thing up, and that's a good positive thing.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is the lack of ability of people to understand that devastating a country, devastating a civilian population is not going to de-radicalize the population. Yep. We're seeing that here. It's something we saw through years and years and years in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I think it's fundamentally, it's a thing of empathy. If you do not see another population as being truly human, you do not think that they would react to something the way you would. Every one of the Israelis that thinks this is a good strategy, and every one of the Americans that thought that what was going on in Iraq and Afghanistan was gonna end ISIS or whatever, if you ask them, if your family was bombed and you lost 6 family members, would you surrender or would you fight for the rest of your life? Every single one of them would say, I would never stop fighting the people that did that. Every one of them would say that. And none of them believe that that is how others will respond, because they don't think of them as people the way they are. So as with so many things in politics, and including international affairs, just actually seeing people as people, I think, go a long way to avoiding some of the constant bloodshed and suffering that we experience as a people.
Yes, and last thing on this, guys, the two far-right parties, Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, are saying, if you ever stop killing Palestinians, we're gonna leave the government, which would force Netanyahu into an election he doesn't want. So the far right is forcing him to decide between actually signing this deal, getting the Israeli hostages back, which is so important, and stopping this pointless war that the military is now saying, enough. There's nothing left to kill, nothing left to destroy in Gaza. He's stuck between them and the far right going, well, then we'll end your career. You're gonna lose this election. We will not accept anything other than the endless slaughter of Palestinians in Gaza. So that's the last thing we're gonna have to see, if Netanyahu can somehow get past those guys to sign this deal.
And we can ask this question at this point: what exactly did Israel accomplish in all of this? What exactly did they accomplish? And when you say you stand with Israel, which many of us stand, we love Israeli people, we love all innocent people, we believe in the protection of life. What did this accomplish for them? What did it accomplish for them?
So many hostages died needlessly. So many Palestinians died needlessly. They didn't get Hamas. All they did was destroy Gaza and earn the hatred of so much of the world, and that does not help Israel. It only hurts Israel. So the only way you're ever gonna get to peace, Israel, is to end the occupation. That is so obvious to everyone in the world except the Israelis, because they're blinded by their bias. Brothers and sisters, we're trying to help you. As long as you keep 5.5 million people occupied, they're always going to fight you. If you can't see that, you've totally lost sight of reality. We need you to get back to objective reality so we can have peace in the region for the Palestinians and for you. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.